You know what's on my mind? The possible war in Ukraine. Here on my daily thought bubble. So recently, I've been reading up and watching a lot of news and podcasts about the possible conflict or war in Ukraine. And it's quite interesting to see how information is now being weaponized and how information is, because the information is democratized, by the way, that the information has not been filtered or assessed or analyzed properly. And because of that, people are now listening to all these opinions without properly discerning which is the right information or the wrong information. So I wanted to kind of chime in on this. And by the way, this is just also my opinion on it, all right? And I could be right or wrong. And you have to make the decision on what you believe is happening in Ukraine, all right? So the idea is to look at the big picture and give a proper assessment based on your values, based on your perspective, and where do you think this is all going. So let's first start with the Russian perspective, all right? Or what they're saying. The Russian perspective is they're saying that the reason they want to invade Ukraine is because they don't want Ukraine to join NATO because it will affect their security. And they're scared that or worried that if Ukraine joins NATO, that NATO will invade Russia or something like that, or NATO would attack Russia, or basically Russia is vulnerable to NATO. That's what they're saying. So think about that statement. Putin is saying, I'm going to invade Ukraine because I don't want Ukraine, which is a sovereign state, to join NATO. That statement alone is wrong. It's like saying to somebody, I don't want you to join wherever you're going to join, so I'm going to invade you or beat you up and then make you a part of my clan or my circle. That's wrong. Ukraine has every right to do whatever they want. They're a sovereign country. As much as Russia has every right to do what they want. And when a country wants to subvert the authority of another country or the sovereignty of another country, that's wrong. An invasion is wrong, period. And Russia is saying that they really don't have any plans of invading. They just want their request to be heard. That's been ignored for so many years. And that's why they're doing this, is to be able to be heard. So what is this, a bluff? Is that what Putin is saying? So I don't think it's a bluff. I think Putin is really going to try to invade and to try to push buttons and see how far he can go. He has placed over 130,000 troops along the borders of Ukraine, from Belarus to Russia to Crimea, and all the military arsenals they have are already lined up, apparently like less than 100 meters away from the border. And they're doing military exercises and even videoing those military exercises and broadcasting it to the world. So if this is a bluff, that's a pretty serious bluff, because now NATO has called the bluff and they brought in all their troops and their military might to Ukraine. So the problem here is that Putin is trying to change the narrative by saying that, it's about NATO's aggression. Well, to begin with, NATO is not going to invade Russia. They're only asking, no, Ukraine wants to join NATO because they want to be protected against Russia. Because Russia has already done that in the past, where they've invaded and occupied other countries close to them, like Crimea. They've occupied already. And Ukraine, as a sovereign state, they've decided already they don't want to be a part of Russia. And they're willing to fight for it. Ukrainians are willing to fight for it. I even saw a video of a grandmother, 78 years old, learning how to shoot a rifle. And he said, I'm going to defend my country against Russia. So that's one side of the equation. The other side is the United States. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The US is now saying there's going to be a war that's imminent. Now, I think they're overreacting. I don't think it's imminent. I think Putin is now painted in a corner because now the bully got a bigger bully in the United States. The bigger bully decides, "Hoy, this is an opportunity to be able to go there and show our military might." And honestly, this is the other side of it that I've been hearing, and I do agree with this as well. That I believe that the United States is a trigger happy cowboy that just now is there and has his gun ready and saying, "Go ahead, make my day." Because I believe the United States wants a war. They want Putin to invade. Why do they want to do that? Why would they want a war? Okay, so this is my hypothesis. Okay, this is what I think. I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what I think. The US wants a war because they haven't had a war in a while. And they have all these weapons that they want to test out. They have all these weapons sitting, stockpiling, doing nothing. And it's aging. And they want to be able to explode some of these missiles and bombs because it's just sitting there, useless. And now all the defense companies, the military companies that provide all these weapons don't have new business because there's no new weapons to make, no new ammunition to make because everything is just sitting in a stockpile. And they need to unload all of this. So they're looking for a reason to unload it. And Russia is giving them a reason. They're not going to unload it unnecessarily or without reason. They will unload it if there's a reason. They're looking for a reason. So that's why I say trigger happy. Because I believe the United States military is just itching to pull the trigger. They're just waiting for a reason. And that's why I say Putin has now been backed into a corner. Because Putin realizes the United States is not going to hold back. If Russia invades Ukraine, boy, that just gave the United States reason to now just throw everything at Russia. And that will diminish Russia's power. Putin's power, as a matter of fact. So let me just, I guess, distinguish it. It's Putin I'm talking about. I believe the Russian people are amazing people, and I don't think they want a war. But I think their dictator wants a war for his own gain, to be able to leverage and show that he is a powerful dictator, that he can take on the world. What's scary to me is this. Putin, in one interview, kind of made a veiled threat that if we go to war, that he will unleash nuclear weapons on the world. And he did say that Russia is one of the nuclear powers of the world. And that although he doesn't want to do it, that he may be forced to do it. To begin with, he started this. Let's be clear about that, because it's quite interesting for me how there's this narrative that Putin is just trying to defend himself. No, he's not. He's on the offensive. He wants to invade a sovereign country. That's offensive. That's not defensive. All right? NATO is composed of a lot of different countries, and they all have different opinions, and they all have different voices, and they're all very powerful nations. So I don't think they're just going to allow the United States to do what they want. And as a matter of fact, that's why the United States has been tempered a little bit, is because of the other NATO members. Because if it was just the United States, boy, trust me, they are trigger happy. So that's why NATO is important, because they do need the other countries to temper the United States as well. And I think now Putin has only two options. I think he doesn't want to back out because he doesn't want to look like a coward. But I think he realizes if he goes to war with NATO, he's going to lose. No, he knows that for a fact. And he has to be able to figure out a way to be able to back out without losing face, without losing his macho, great leader persona. But in reality, he's just a bully. And like all bullies, they're all cowards. They're cowards who can't take criticism. They're cowards when other people stand up to them, and they pick on the little guys, the guys that can't defend themselves. Typical bully. And that's the whole perspective of everything that's happening in Ukraine. Russia, the United States, and NATO. And I hope you guys do your own research and also figure out what your perspective is on the conflict that's happening right now. And I do hope, honestly, that a war doesn't happen. It would be disastrous for a war to happen, and I do wish Putin will kind of get to his senses and realize that he's not going to win this. And his best course of action is to just retreat and save his honor and dignity and try to work with the people and not be so power hungry. And that's what's on my mind today. This is Chris Tan, and that's my daily thought bubble.